say anything you want. Or you want to bring Yeah.
Okay. I can invite everyone out.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Theo, please. Savannah. Let's see. Daniel. Zack. Sunny. Did you like it? Thank God.
Well, I'll start off with a couple questions and throw to the audience, but I first want to ask you, I really look up to you, and how can I become you?
I've imagined this exact moment a lot of times, and I don't know how to answer it in a funny way. Except, there was a point where in that final Q&A scene, we were gonna put the Sundance laurel up in a VFX shot, and when that was in consideration, we still hadn't gotten to the festival. So I was like, let's wait to at least get in before doing that, and then we just jettisoned it. Right? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, we didn't really answer how can I become you, but that's all right. But
yeah, just work hard and keep grinding. Be yourself. What do you think he was about to say?
I think that's what I wanted to ask too. Is that it's so interesting that create the admiration of the artistry that he has is almost without any artistry of himself. And I'm just curious, like, what do you think is the relationship between the fandom and actually being an artist, and how the tables turn between Maddie and Oliver as the film goes on?
That is a great question. What do you guys think about that? What do you think, Theo? Great question. What do you think?
That's a great question. What do you think?
I honestly also couldn't hear it super well.
Do you mind repeating the question?
Well, it's just that being a fan in this film, it seems like the most negative thing that's said to Maddie throughout the film, that you're a fan, and by the end, it's almost that he is the artist himself, as being that. And I'm just wondering, like, is that something that you felt through writing the film in terms of telling the story, or is your image of Maddie as something not even an artist, it's just being a pure, psycho?
Well, I mean, I think it was definitely intention, what you're pointing out, that like the most vicious thing that could be said to him is that you're a fan, because it separates him from what he's believed himself to be a part of this group. And it's saying, you are the other, you are not the thing that you've been working so hard to pretend to be, you're a part of. So like, it happens a couple times. The main one is in the store where Jamie is like, oh, it's so cool that they're like letting a fan hang out with them and take pictures or whatever. Like, then we like hold on Matthew's face for like 10 seconds. What was the question?
There's a really interesting thing that we keep talking about in Q&As, and it's like about the emotional attachment that fans have to musicians, and feeling like I'm covered. This is so furry, and it's molting all over my jacket. So it is what it is. People keep trying to help me, but it's too late. Thanks. But the emotional attachment that fans have to musicians, and feeling like you know them so well because of the things that they've written or the the ideas in their music feel so personal. Like you said that you don't like to go to concerts because you don't like to feel like everybody else is having the same experience. You're like, this is my friend, what the hell? Like, why do you guys know the lyrics? I know the lyrics because it's between
this is
me
about
and you.
me and Frank Ocean.
Yeah, and so there's a lot.
The rest you got, like, you should not be crying listening to music. Listen to the car.
I feel like a lot of that exists of like being a fan all of a sudden like rips that umbilical cord and detaches that emotional connection that you have to the person. It puts you at a distance immediately and creates an otherness. And I think that's that was death in this film. Yeah.
Well, Theodore and Archie are so great in this film in terms of
Thank you.
I'd love to know how you got involved in being cast in the film, and what is the thing about your character that you found that you liked the most about them?
I was cast a long time ago. I was like 23 when I first auditioned, and so it's been like 4 years. I think it evolved with time. I think a big part of it for me was the sense of something being so unattainable as being close to Oliver, or being close to someone that you idolize so much, that you put so high above you. And then having the incredible opportunity of entering that circle, of having access, and then becoming completely disillusioned because you see the mechanisms, and you see that it's actually not that foreign from you. It's not something that is unattainable, or that glamorous, and yeah, it becomes actually he starts really feeling like he might have the upper hand. He might understand things better than them. So going from the true need of being there to then feeling like he is actually the better person, the one that can bring something to them, was very fascinating.
I originally auditioned for Matthew like pre-COVID. And I thought I killed the tape. I was like, I've got this. And I never heard anything back.
It didn't get to me.
And then years go by, and I guess 3 or 4 years. And my agent, Danny, called me and said, Alex Russell's in New York and wants to meet you for LURKER. I was like, I thought that project happened years ago. He was like, no, he wants to meet for the musician. I sit down with Alex and has had all these other lives, and he's gonna hate me saying this, but he was like, yo, this is so random. When someone suggested your name, I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure, like his tape was good, but not sure. And then I saw you in a coffee shop in LA, and I kind of just watched you for a while. And I was
I wasn't like staring, I was just like, that's that guy, right?
And then I was like,
nice.
he could make me do this actually. And then off the back of that, we had this meeting in New York. Yeah. And the thing that I liked the most, I guess there was a really fun, not something that I would like to take with me, but something that I've never really exerted before was like the way that he holds power in space to feel like you have everybody circling you and everybody ready to wait on you hand and foot. Like that kind of power is very intoxicating, and I really felt that I had to do these live shows for real, and it's a very different kind of thing being on stage as a musician and having everybody look at you as yourself as you're singing a song, as opposed to playing a character you're like kind of wearing a disguise. So having that thing it was an interesting feeling. I liked it for then, never again.
By the way, he recorded all of those songs. With our friend Kenny, is he here?
And you're also perfectly cast in the film. I think each character is just that person. I'm just, could you Alex, can you tell us a little bit about finding everyone that you found? What about them kind of felt right for the role that they had?
Yeah, I mean, I think my philosophy on it was like, I wanted to create this sort of a bed of authenticity among the ensemble that all felt like they were friends and like they were not foreign to sort of the LA like music world. So like Sonny and Zack, like, and Wale, like these type of characters, some are non-actors, some are just in that world, and it all feels very naturalistic in a way that's kind of a misdirect when the drama of Theo and Archie starts to converge, such that like halfway through, once you get to like the recording studio scene, you're like, oh, I thought this was like mid-90s or something. You know, like this is getting really intense. And I think blending those two ideas worked. I didn't know if it would. I didn't know if I could like merge sort of the naturalism and authenticity of like the ensemble with, once it gets very almost play-like in the dialogue. But I think it did. You kind of like build into it. That was what I was thinking.
I'd like to open it up to the audience for ask questions. Please raise your hand and I will call on you. Yes, please, right there. Yes, you.
Okay. I couldn't help think of All About Eve and the comedian,
King of
Robert
Comedy?
De Niro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were those either of those films an inspiration to you in your writing of the script?
Questions about inspirations and specifically all about
Yeah,
you.
so All About Eve, King of Comedy. I actually hadn't seen All About Eve until after I wrote the script. And I was blown away by it. And it encouraged me so much because it was like, oh, here's like best picture of 1950. And it's 70 years apart in the writing, but the themes are so similar. And even like there's certain scenes in All About Eve that are, like even the ending of All About Eve is literally like, she's at some kind of like awards thing and she's thanking everybody that she's like fucked over throughout the movie, which I feel like is very similar to the ending of this. So no, I hadn't seen it, but then when I watched it, I was very encouraged by it, and I wanted to, for example, like in the shooting of it, make it feel very classic, very All About Eve. Like that's why we shot on film. I wanted it to feel not like this hyper digital modern thing. I wanted it to feel like it tales all this time. And then King of Comedy, I had seen, but like I wanted to do a fundamentally different thing from it because the way that movie plays out is kind of like Rupert Pupkin. Have you guys all seen this movie? Yeah. Okay. So the way they play Rupert Pupkin, it's kind of objective if you think about it. It's kind of like here's this guy, right, and he's acting crazy and he's doing weird stuff out in the world. And the audience is kind of separated from that, right? It's kind of like, look at him doing all this. It's emblematic of society, but like not me. And I wanted this to be subjective in a way where it was like people could actually kind of relate a little bit to what he was doing, and we were in his shoes, and we were like, damn, have I done maybe something or wanted to do something like this, or have I been made uncomfortable in a social calculation that made me want to like manipulate someone? You know, it's just fiction.
I wanted to also ask about like the realisms that you shot in Los Angeles, right? You shot in California.
We did, except for the London bits, which we shot in London. But I mean, there was a world where we were gonna have to cheat LA for London. So I'm just thinking about you know that one scene in Austin Powers where they're like driving up the hills. And they're like, wow, this part of London looks a lot like Southern California. But thankfully we had the budget to, you know, we kind of made all our days, and my producers were like, we can actually do the London thing. And we did it, and I think it added a lot. But another thing I should say is that most of our LA locations are now torched. That house, the main house, we've seen videos of it, it's nothing. It's like, it's really crazy, and we were just very lucky to get what we could at that time, and it is, people say filmmaking is ephemeral, and it's true. I'm glad we got to do it.
I think we have time for one or two more questions. Yes, please, right there. You, yes. Yes. Her, right here, right, her. In the red. The question is just, do you believe that the entire entourage is just like Matthew?
I do think so. I think there's an element of that for sure. I don't think they're all as bad as him, but there's something there. They're all fighting for a position. They're all fighting for a place in the hierarchy.
And they all have like a different angle, kind of.
Yeah,
like a different role.
No, I do think it's true, and it's true that he also kind of plays with that. There is so many moments that are great, like just Oliver kind of throwing a little challenge there to see how they're going to play off of it or how they're going to react. But yeah, I think it's true.
Yeah, could you guys tell he was a little bit puppeteering the? It's subtle, but he likes to set them against each other. There's this one shot that we did in the photo studio scene where it's like, we almost didn't do this, but it's when he's like, Noah, do you have any ideas? And Noah starts talking, and then Matthew is like, I have an idea, and he's like, Noah. And then Noah comes back into the fray, and then Oliver just like looks at Matthew and like enjoys the despair. And then like smiles for a second, and then we're back in the scene. So it's like in little moments like that, it's like, oh, he knows what he's doing, he's like enjoying this.
Do you feel that everyone, you were about to say something, I think, there, do you feel like?
I was going to say a similar thing to, I don't think it's binary, but I do think all of the characters do kind of play into the parasitic, or I guess it would be mutualistic relationship, because you can see that, you know, Archie's character obviously has something to do with that dynamic. I think that Sweat, sort of to what Maddie's saying, it's like everybody's doing it, but I'm just the best at it. You know, Sweat is probably among the laziest at it, right? Like, Sweat is like Squidward, you know what I mean? Like, Squidward shows up and he does the effort at best every single day, and then here comes this sponge dude, and he's shooting burgers into anchovies' mouths at light speed. He's just the ultimate, just hamming it up. And it's like, bro, you're making my job hard because you're doing too good. You're doing too much, and now Mr. Krabs is looking at me like, what do you have to offer? And that's who I studied for the role. So that's.
Wait, so who is Mr. Krabs in this, and who is Patrick, and who is Squidward? And who?
Who would Jamie be?
Patrick.
Jamie would be Patrick.
I think so. I don't know if we can really do a one-to-one.
I feel like I'd be like
We're stretching the analogy a little bit.
you're taking it a little too far.
I'm over here now.
We have time for one more
Yes.
question. Yes, please, right here.
Like the ending, like the cut to the end, or like the last 5 minutes. Like the Q&A stuff. Okay,
How do you
so
come up with the Q&A at the end of the scene? Start.
It's a great question, because the way it was written was like a 5-page scene, like with dialogue and with like interview questions and the moderator, and like we see these people like answer questions, and we're curious about, you know, why is it that they're kind of getting along now? Are they being fake with each other? Are they still friends? Is it real? And then when I got into the edit, it just made so much more sense to not hear that final whatever he was about to say. And it's just so much more interesting to feel, to leave it on a question mark. And you know, those last 15 minutes, you're just like driving through the momentum of like going from the recording studio to the paintball thing, to the weird hotel scene, into like getting his ass beat on the bus. And then it's like, you don't want to like slow down and like do like what we're doing right now. You wanted to just be like, okay, here's a question for Matt. And the way that he is about to answer the question is the answer. Like that little couple seconds of performance of seeing what's going on in his head and like the little turn of the head, it's everything. And the truth is that if we had written it that way, more efficiently, then we wouldn't have had that, because that came out of shooting the full scene. And he actually does go on to answer the question in a certain way. So it's doing all those takes and like getting all the full thing, the fat of it that ended up getting cut out, that allowed for that like 2 seconds. It's just like so perfect.
Well, thank you so much. It's always been